painted. Ben Smith, I think the guy's name was.
Brad Smith.
Brad Smith. And it's like the whole place has a nice little like
Sophia
diner
Ryan.
vibe.
Right. It is
Frank
BYOB.
Sinatra.
BYOB.
It does
Marlon
BYOB,
Brando.
yeah.
Which is cool.
Yeah, it was cozy. The only thing I think we took a point off because there was no light, melodic music playing in the background, which would have been just the cherry on top.
Would have been like I was actually in Italy.
Yeah.
We walked in and it was only us. Like,
Yeah,
it
which was
quiet.
nice.
Yeah.
Okay,
For service, I would 5.
Yeah,
5,
Great
straight
service.
up,
She was
simple,
fantastic.
efficient. She was in and out. The food came out quick.
And not
You
in
know
a
what?
bad
I
way.
will say, as someone who works at a pizza place, they didn't have the little on the table. At Mel Mushroom, we have those little pizza holding things.
Right.
Yeah.
Old school has them.
Yeah, those things are key because pizzas take up so much space on the table.
They take up a
But
lot of
that's
real
not
estate.
that's not a
Yeah,
service
it's not,
issue. Yeah.
What about toppings? That's a big one.
Oh, the toppings were fantastic.
Also a 5.
Yes.
Also 5. It was very fresh. All the spinach was a nice dark
so you
color.
guys
What did
got
y'all
a
get
lot
on
of
your
flavor.
pizza?
Garrett, you want to do your side?
Yeah, it was onions, bell peppers, mushrooms, and sausage. And I'd say it was pretty solid.
Yeah.
You literally turned it upside down like a blizzard.
Yeah.
And then
It
the
all
toppings stayed
on
on.
top. Yeah.
Yeah, my side I had spinach, Canadian bacon, ham, and then jalapenos, and I got side anchovies because some squeamish people out here.
Right, I ate an entire.
And the whole thing was on olive oil and garlic base. And the toppings, the coloration was really nice. The spinach looked super dark green and fresh.
It looked really, really fresh. I think is probably the
fresh. It was a solid word. That's the first thing that popped into my head.
Yeah,
And,
John and I had the pizza, and it was very good.
It looked like there was a lot of stuff on top of it.
like you got a good amount of.
It was like hamburger and pepperoni, but yeah, it was delicious.
Solid amount.
Yeah, they didn't short us.
What about crust? What's the crust situation like? Can you eat it alone, Rhodey?
You can. It's not the best. It's kind of normal pizza crust.
What was the number?
3.
It was a
We got a
3.
3.
You were 3.
wasn't
Not the
floppy.
worst.
Right. It wasn't floppy. It wasn't burnt. It was.
True. It wasn't soggy either.
Right.
Like it was a good, solid crust. It just wasn't as flavorful.
You wouldn't want to make pretzels out of the crust
Yeah,
and serve
exactly.
that up.
Yeah.
Speaking of the sauce, what did we feel like for the red sauce? Well, for the all sauce altogether, we gave it a 3.5.
Right.
Yeah.
The red sauce was good. Pizza sauce.
It just didn't quite pop out.
No extra spices or anything. That
You think maybe you didn't think they could have done a little, maybe like some more cloves? I don't know. I'm not a cook at all. I don't know what I'm talking about.
It wasn't too thin. It wasn't too thick. It was somewhere nice in the middle, but there wasn't
Flavor
a lot.
wasn't. Yeah, the flavor wasn't.
Right, I wouldn't just eat it.
Yeah.
Right.
Me and Garrett went off menu with the olive oil and garlic base, which is where it's kind of like a substitute white sauce. You just put olive oil and then toss the garlic on there. And it kind of creates blends in with the crust to create a little bit of a white base. And it was really good.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't too oily, which can be an issue with
It looked
olive
really
oil.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Didn't have any,
it
unfortunately.
looks good. It meshes well with it works as a really great intermediary between the crust and the cheese.
Wow.
Right, so what was our final score?
Well, we still have to talk about
still
the
got
cheese,
cheese.
which was a 4. It was good. It held the toppings.
Held the toppings, had a good stretch, but not too much.
And cheese only by itself was solid.
Right,
That was tasteful.
Yeah.
And it didn't fall off whenever you.
No, it didn't. I didn't even think about that. You're
Yeah.
totally right. It didn't fall off.
Still a
when you
little
ate it.
stringy. That's
Yeah,
satisfying.
yeah, that's
Pull away.
Yeah, a good commercial.
had a good mouthfeel.
So overall, 4.9.
Yeah.
4.9.
Quite a
Go
score.
for Moni's. Good
Quite a
for
score.
you.
Not see
Good
that
for you,
coming.
Monies.
And it is BYOB, so you can come here.
I think Moni's is like kind of a sleeper hit. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Like,
Honestly, and our first episode, we had Chris Dobson on, and he mentioned the calamari.
yeah.
And it was excellent.
Full circle.
Full circle.
Excellent.
Wow.
All right. Well, thank you all for coming out and having pizza with us.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
we'll
anytime.
probably have you back out because we love pizza. Clearly.
Yeah.
And thank you.
Yeah, enjoy.
Yep.
Come to Moni's.
Up, we goofed.
Uh-oh.
Whoopsie daisy.
So there are actually 6 categories, and I didn't do the math correctly.
Womp womp.
So when we gave Moni's their score, it was super high.
I thought it was rather high for what the scores we gave them, but
I'm
I'm not good with math.
I'm not so good with math either, even with the help of a calculator, clearly. So the final score is actually 4.08. Not a bad score.
Bex, you were
super great.
yeah, you're
super
still in the
great
lead, no worries.
experience, but I did want to clarify that score.
Yes. Sorry, guys. We won't do it again.
We'll try not to. I
It's
promise.
true. We're human. We all make mistakes.
We are here with Irish Hancock, Shauna Lemley, and TJ Manor of the Office of Emergency Management of Arlington. How are y'all today?
Fine, thank you.
Good, thank you.
So the Arlington Fire Department is 1 out of 2 in Texas and 44 in the nation to have earned the EMAP, the Emergency Management Accreditation Program accreditation. How does it feel to be the first North Central Texas department to receive that reaccreditation and one of only 9 in the country?
Well, I guess I'd say we're very proud. It's not an easy accomplishment to do,
Right.
to receive, to not just receive a reaccreditation, but to be accredited to begin with. We're very proud to have achieved it for our citizens. That's really what we're here for, is to make sure that we're as prepared as possible to respond and assist them in any way possible should there be an emergency in our community.
Great. We've seen a little bit of the inside of this place, and it's really impressive. I honestly feel a lot better about possible emergencies than I did.
Absolutely.
Command Center is amazing.
Yeah, it absolutely is. There's so much information and just the time and effort that goes into it was breathtaking, kind of, in a very good way.
Right.
Yeah, I feel better. So in 2014, Arlington became the 6th standalone city in the world to achieve EMAP status. Also, Arlington is one of 13 cities in the world to achieve EMAP accreditation without a partnership. What goes into receiving that accreditation, and how many people have to work together to make that happen?
Well, the EMAP program talks about what they call the Big P program, because a lot of times people say, well, your emergency management program. When they talk about the Big P program, they mean every department in the city that has a role in emergency management. For example, we work very closely with Public Works during disasters. So a lot of the stuff that we do, a lot of the standards that we were required to meet involved other stakeholders within the city. So while we were putting everything together, making sure that we had the proper plans and they were documenting our activities, it really required a full team effort with all the city departments. So we get a lot of credit. It says emergency management on it, but it really was a city award, really, when you look at everything that has to go into it. So it's one thing, we can write all the plans and everything can be all nice and pretty and everything can work for us, but if we don't involve our stakeholders, the plans aren't worth the paper they're printed on. So it's a really big accomplishment, given the fact that we had to get so many people on board and coordinate with them to make sure that what we have on paper, the procedures we have for emergencies actually reflect what we're going to do when we have a bad day here.
And not just plans on paper that may or may not happen.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But to that point too, our plans involve the stakeholders also. They're not just written in a silo in our office. So as we're writing the plans and they come up for renewal, we send them to the stakeholders, we get their input, and we reflect what's changed within their organization to reflect in here too. So it's not just the accreditation isn't the only reason why we would reach out to everybody. It's just overall good standard across the board in our field.
So are your plans constantly changing as people move in and out of positions? And I mean, it's like a living document. You're constantly updating.
We are required to update them every number of years just to make sure they're current. A lot of times the plans may stay relatively the same, like how you would respond to an incident, but there will be a contact list, and a lot of times that's really what ends up being edited more than anything else is the phone number still the same, or the people that you think you would need to call still in those positions. But occasionally you'll have some of the actual activities change as new processes or procedures or technology is created. Then the plans will change in that way. But again, as Shauna said, it's sending it to our stakeholders as well to ensure that it's meeting how they've updated as well as how we have. So at the time we have a disaster, we're not getting a busy signal. We know exactly who we need to call.
Right.
And when we, say for example, our finance plan, Shauna sends that out to our finance department, because if there's an emergency and they're sitting in our finance department, we need to make sure that they've seen it, that one, they know the procedure that we intend to use, and that it actually reflects based on their subject matter expertise on how you perform that function in a disaster. They're the ones, write all kinds of pretty flowery language, so can Irish and Shauna, but if it doesn't reflect how business is actually done, if we don't involve those stakeholders in the planning process, then again, it goes right back to the paper, the plan not being worth the paper it's printed on, because what you've got in the plan is not going to reflect what actually happens in real life.
Right. Now, what is the best thing people can do to be prepared for any event, emergency-wise?
Be prepared to be self-sustaining for 72 hours. That's kind of the FEMA guidelines. To have non-perishable foods, water, batteries, having a updated contact list at home as well, having prescriptions, not just the actual medical bottles, but the actual scripts themselves. So if you have to evacuate and you're in another community, you were required to take these medications semi-regularly. A lot of times people don't know exactly what dosage that they're supposed to take. So, having that type of information.
I would agree, and I would expand upon that. The Know What to Do program, you have the books in front of you, is a program that the emergency managers in the region kind of put together to kind of help come up with a resource for citizens in the area that really don't know what to do. There are a lot of people that feel like they need to plan and prepare, but they have no idea what they're supposed to do first, because it seems like a really daunting task. We see a lot of research that shows that people's perception of how prepared they are is very different than how prepared they really are. So we wanted a resource that people could go to kind of really give them a clear-eyed look at exactly how prepared they are. So there's a website associated with the books that it starts out going through the general hazards that we're exposed to, we're vulnerable to here in North Central Texas. And then that's the think part. The prepare part is actually building your kit and building your emergency response plan, and then act on what to do when you've when a disaster happens. It's a great resource. The website itself has been redesigned, and on that website you can actually type out and print out, fill in the blanks basically on an emergency plan, and print out a checklist for things that you might want to think about for your kit. Wow. So it's a really good resource that I would definitely point our residents to.
And I want to plug the Know What to Do program was funded through Homeland Security, through our North Central Texas Council of Government. So they brought in several emergency managers who kind of thought through what's important for the communities in our 16-county region, and then utilized the grant funds to create this program. The material that you have in front of you, the website, you'll see billboards occasionally throughout the region as well, highlighting to think, prepare, and act, and in general, just to be prepared.
And what's the name of that website? It's
knowwhattodo.com.
Perfect.
There's only one W though, so it's KNOWHAT number 2 and DO.com.
All right.
Very nice.
So kind of on that same, how to prepare people for emergencies that may not necessarily be super life-threatening. Do you have any tips for like an emergency preparedness kit for a car or for someone that might be traveling to help in some minor emergency or something like that?
Well, actually, in the manuals, and you can find online, there's actually a page that says...
Oh, there it is right there.
Hey. So it is. There are all kinds of things. Definitely want a flashlight. You want a multi-tool of some type. You want to be able to cut your seatbelt in case it gets latched and you can't get it out. So a strap cutter, a center punch, a spring-loaded center punch.
Right. Got one of those in my car.
Do you?
Right there.
Hey, look at you.
Comes with this.
I got a multi-tool and a flashlight, so we're doing
Yeah.
all right.
Halfway
Both
there.
are together.
So then you'll want like a first aid kit, flares to notify people on the road that there is an emergency, so you don't get accidentally hit. Tire repair kit, know how to change a tire.
Yep.
I was really, really disappointed. We just bought my wife a new car a couple of years ago. Didn't even come with a spare tire. Came with some fix-a-flat.
Whoa.
And because I think people are so
It's not good.
so reliant on roadside assistance that they're not even outfitting the cars with spare tires. So that was obviously unacceptable for me.
Right.
So we got her a spare tire, but these are just, I mean, it almost sounds self-explanatory, but have a spare tire, make sure it's aired up periodically, and know how to change the tire, check for cables,
Blanket.
and blanket, depending on the